Hi, angels. Nobody's on yet. We're waiting for people. How you guys doing? Happy Saturday. Happy post-full moon. I hope you guys birthed a lot during the full moon. I got to watch the full moon each of the nights that it was full. Yesterday, Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday. In one of the coolest places to see a full moon in the French Quarter in New Orleans. For those of you who believe in superstitions and astrology and traditional practices and spirituality, it's always nice to be in a spiritual place when you're seeing a full moon. But anyway, so I got to do that. I am getting such a late start to my day because I was up late last night going through edited content, so I've done a few things, but I definitely slept in, and I'm kind of just chilling today, but I've got to get the day rolling. So I wanted to tell you guys about yesterday and go over these cool books that I've been getting into here in this amazing little storybook loft that I have here in NOLA while I'm recording here. So anyway, so I'm finishing my makeup, and then I'm going to go out and listen to some street music here in the French Quarter and just kind of keep it chill. And then I've got to come back and finish recording my vocals for 2024. So, yeah. I also have like a low-key goal to figure out, with all of the tons of makeup that I have with me, what I actually like and don't like, because I definitely want to get rid of some. I'm in like a cleaning phase, I mean it's summer, but I still feel like I'm going through spring cleaning. Like, what do I need, what do I not need? So yeah, I'm like determined to play with all of my makeup while I'm here and get rid of as much of it as possible, because I don't really use it, and I think there's about 25% of it that I don't actually like. But anyway, so first things first, yesterday, I'm just going to do this in the camera because there's no point in turning away from you guys. So yesterday, I went on a little history tour in New Orleans and wanted to discover the history of jazz. And so the history of jazz in New Orleans, for those of you who don't know, I'm talking to you on YouTube and Instagram Live, so sorry if I'm switching back and forth between the cameras. But so the history of jazz and rhythm and blues in New Orleans starts at Congo Square. And Congo Square is located in Louis Armstrong Park. I went there and immediately it felt deep and spiritual, and there was a sense of grounding when I got there, but also a sense of desolation. It just seemed abandoned, like it was just left there to be there, but I don't know, it was just a really weird feeling. There were some kids hanging out by one of the benches, and there was a tour guide with one of the people he was giving a private tour to, and other than that, it almost seemed like you were just visiting a ghost from the past. So I kind of didn't love that. I was like, oh, that's kind of unfortunate. I don't know what I would have wanted it to be. I guess I didn't expect that. But there was a sign talking about Congo Square and what it originally was purposed for, and it was a place that was a sacred place for the Native Americans here in New Orleans in Louisiana. I don't remember the name of the group of it. Let me see. I took a bunch of video. Let me see if I can scroll through the video really quick. Okay, so the Humas Indians, that's the group of people that were originally using the square, and then as Louisiana kept being colonized, with the French slave trade, there were markets that were opened by Africans and the French settlers, and the Africans basically turned the markets into like a gathering place, a place of trade work, and they would play the drums there. And so that basically is the birth of rhythm and blues and jazz in America, and it became like mini fêtes, which is French for parties. Um, and that specific group of Africans was mostly from the Congo, so they were basically infusing a lot of their Congolese traditions here in NOLA, and that is how we have today jazz, rhythm and blues, even some of the heart of rock and roll comes from that. Memphis is considered the birthplace of rock and roll in America, but Louisiana has some influence in that too, and so does the Mississippi Delta, the whole region. But Memphis is technically the birthplace of rock and roll, definitely not Cleveland, even though that was super finessed by Caucasian American DJs. It is Memphis. And then for jazz, it is NOLA, it's New Orleans, and rhythm and blues, it's across the entire Mississippi Delta. So yesterday at Louis Armstrong Park, I really just got to walk through that history, and on my father's side, we have some lineage here in the South along the Mississippi Delta, but also specifically in New Orleans, and my father's side, their southern lineage goes from Texas all the way over to Alabama, and then up through the Carolinas, and all the way up the East Coast to New York. So New York, New Jersey, that tri-state area. So, you know, it's like a lot of lineage there, and then my mother's side of the family comes from overseas, and they're super mixed with tons of things overseas, but just going on that history walk yesterday was a chance to kind of tap into those roots and just kind of, you know, dig into that side of my culture. But just the feeling of being in Congo Square and it being kind of like empty and not really, I don't know, it just seemed like left alone, like abandoned. And the tour guide who was there with the person he was giving a private tour to was talking about the cemeteries in New Orleans and the grave sites that are most commonly visited. And he was comparing, I don't know whose gravesite he was comparing, Elvis Presley's too, but he was saying that there's a gravesite here in New Orleans that's the second most visited gravesite in the US, and then Elvis Presley's gravesite is the first most visited gravesite in the United States of America. So it was just interesting that like that was part of their conversation, you know, is when they're talking about like the birthplace of jazz, like the gravesite came up. I don't know why, I didn't read into it. I was kind of doing my own thing, and I didn't really want to stick around to like eavesdrop on their conversation or like join their tour. But anyway, so that was yesterday, and then I went along the river walk and heard a bunch of music, and then it was time for me to go back inside and make my own music. So that was yesterday. But I also told you guys I was going to talk to you more about the books that I have here in this loft. I feel like where I'm staying is some beautiful French Quarter version of like a Beauty and the Beast house. And there's a library. Like the books line the outer parlor. There are books in every room. There's books on every single table. I mean, it's just, the books are part of the decoration. So I started picking up books because low-key I am a nerd and I love reading. So the first book that I dug into was Tavis Smiley's, can you guys see that? I don't know which way, I don't know which way to hold it, but Do What's Right. And I thought this book was super funny. Like just the way he gets into some of the history was really funny. Just some of the things he says about what was going on in the 2000s. And for me, this is historical learning because some of this stuff was happening in the 2000s when I was really young or even before my time. So I got an appreciation for him as a person. Like, I only know Tavis Smiley as this funny radio personality, don't really know anything else about him. But the book talks about advocacy and how important it is to advocate for the things you believe in. And I feel like we think of advocacy as like this big humdrum lobbying effort, and it doesn't have to be that. It can be, you know, on all kinds of different levels. Even, you know, just here on social media, which we, millennials, Gen Z, we have definitely tapped into that, and we've encouraged everybody to do it. And now all ages use social media as a way of advocating, and sometimes to the extreme, sometimes not in a very helpful way, but you know, it's all good. Like, it's a voice, it's a platform, it's a way to spread positivity and start making change, and it's working. But this talks about the grassroots of advocacy, and I like that he gets into, questions like, why would you not want to advocate? The fear of speaking up, and fearing the consequences of your action. Like, he has a list here of why people would not want to advocate or what they're waiting for. 1, they don't know how. 2, they're just too busy. 3, they're disconnected. 4, they fear the consequences of action. 5, they don't believe anything they do will change things. And then he has like even a worksheet in here to help you figure out what you're interested in, what's important to you, and things you could do about it, even on the smallest level, just having a conversation at home about it or here on social media. So if you're into reading, definitely pick up this book. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible. I have the hard copy book, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely worth a read, and it's short. It's a total of 144 pages, and I went through the whole thing, and he has case studies in the back, which I think are less interesting for me. Like, I don't really want to read into too many people's case studies, but I did like just his background, his history, and learning about him. He's an important figure in the African American community, so I thought that was important to learn about and just kind of have a deep appreciation for him. So yeah, that's that. And then, since I'm done with this one, I picked up another book. This one, totally different vantage point, but it's by a woman, and I love reading female authors. I'm obviously biased to women. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but I'm definitely biased to female artists because I think our voices are always trampled on, and I'm really a big advocate myself of bringing back matriarchy and just feminine power in a positive way, not in an aggressive, smash the man down or like anything like that. But I really do believe in the power of femininity and the place of the woman and women in society. So this book speaks on that. It talks about family. It's called A Place for Us. I don't know if you guys can see that on YouTube, but it's called A Place for Us, and it's by Fatima Farzin Mirza. And where she's from, I have to look into that. I just started this book today. I don't know if she talks about where she is from, but her family immigrated here. So she's first generation. She was born in California, and her family immigrated from somewhere in the Middle East, given her last name. But it doesn't say. But the book talks about the influence of Islam in her family, and there's a big emphasis on her father's relationship with her brother in the narrative of the story. So I don't know if this is actually a true story. I haven't finished reading it, but it basically talks about the role of gender and the role of where you're placed in your family. For example, if you're the firstborn son or secondborn son or daughter, your role is the first daughter getting married, all of those complexities within the family structure. And I think it really opens up a space for love and empathy and understanding for different cultures and traditions, and just what we think of regarding. I think it's a good book for people to read, just to open your imagination and kind of learn about what we think we know about other cultures, and even in America, when those cultures transplant here into the U.S. from other places. Like, my mother's family came here, and I was first generation here in America, and just learning, the effect of that on her family and my life and where that placed me in the family structure. This book is very reminiscent for me of that, so I really like that. I really have only gotten to the first chapter, so I don't have too much for you guys, but it does talk about the role of the Quran and listening to the Imam and examples that you're given as a child that sometimes don't really come back to play a role in your life until later as an adult. Something happens and you think back on something you learned. Like, I have Muslims in my family. An uncle of mine is Muslim, and I remember he always gave me these really soft lessons on love and empathy for others. But when I was a child, I was around him the most when I was growing up in the Netherlands, um, and when I came back to the U.S. and saw how people reacted to interracial families that were of different religions, for example, like mixed families where someone is Jewish and Christian, or even Jewish and Muslim, which is less common here. It's more common in Europe, I think, in my opinion, or Christian and Muslim, or whatever. Whatever it is, Buddhist and Christian, whatever the mix is, just the way that dynamic is tough sometimes, and the way that, you know, these lessons you get as a child come back and play a role. A lot of his lessons that my uncle gave me in the Netherlands, when I came back here, I would recall them and be like, oh yeah, that's what he meant by that. And as a kid, it was just fun because he's such a soft-tempered guy and just really sweet, and he's very loving towards children. And I don't know if all the adults in the family receive that same softness from him. He's a man's man, so I don't know if that was just reserved for the kids. But anyway, so this book reminds me of things like that. So it's actually really heartwarming, and I can't wait to get through the rest of it. So I'm also a big advocate for reading. That's why I'm like excited to share these things with you, because while I'm here recording my music and working on that form of art, I get to dive into other people's art, and I think it's so important that we read. We have to read more, and that's actually something that Tavis Smiley talks about in his book, reading more. If you're looking for a way to get involved in anything, especially advocacy, you've got to know what you're talking about. And I think that applies to everything. Like, you need to be well versed in whatever you're involved in as much as possible. And it's a journey, of course. Like, you don't start out knowing everything, just like, you know, and anything in life, it takes time and it takes effort. But educating yourself is so important, and I think reading is the number one way to do that. And reading nowadays is transformative in that it doesn't have to be just sitting down with a book, even though I love that I get my hands on these books now. I love that I can like touch a hardback book and it's free, and there's just so many books for me to play with here and learn from. I'm usually on Audible. I love my podcasts. Like, I'm really in love with this podcast called Acquired right now. I'm so addicted to it. Definitely check that out. I love listening to Audible. I love Blinkist. I don't know if you guys are into that app. It's so great to get these like capsized versions of books, especially when you're on the go. It's like a quick filler activity if you want to just play something in the background. I love Blinkist. But I do love to sit on my, like when I'm on the plane, I will open my Kindle and read whatever book that I'm reading at the time, and it's a great alternative to just like getting lost in movies or feeling like that's all you have going on the plane. Even though I do love some movie time, like don't get me wrong, I'm a huge movie fan, but I love reading as well. So I'm just sharing that with you guys. I'm trying to do more content sharing, and I feel like this whole process has been kind of super secretive. Like I don't really go on live. I haven't been posting a lot because there's so much content that I'm working with that's copywritten. The music obviously is definitely like copywritten, or if it hasn't been copywritten, I can't share it at all, or I have agreements with other artists or producers where we aren't sharing the material yet. So it kind of limits what I can share with you guys, and I'm trying to find workarounds with that. Also, it's just time consuming and exhausting, right? Like putting content up on social media, but it's so worth it, and I'm really excited to just bring you guys deeper into the fold and show you more of what I'm doing. So tonight I'm actually going to try to put up a little snippet of part of my recording session and just share that with you guys. I just put up a behind the scenes reel with Casa Film Productions, who helped me, and the photographer who helped me get this photo shoot done in Atlanta. I did a huge Alice in Wonderland shoot, and it was super fun, so crazy, definitely unexpected. I knew I was going to do something botanical, pretty, beautiful, ballet-wise in Atlanta, but I had no idea that it was going to be what it turned out to be. And yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to see the final pictures. But in the meantime, we've got tons of behind the scenes content that we are editing and pushing out. So that is on Instagram and on YouTube. We go check that out. And yeah, there's lots coming. It's almost like we're too busy to post, but that's not an excuse. We've gotta get you guys involved. So thank you guys for tuning into everything you've tuned into, and I definitely want to bring you more. Hi to everybody on Instagram and hi to everyone on YouTube. This is a quick live. I'm gonna hop off because it's like 5 minutes to 5 p.m. here in NOLA. I'm like, shoot, where'd the day go? So I've got to run outside. I've got to go catch some musicians, go get my dose of New Orleans jazz, and then I've got to get to recording. So I'll see you guys a bit later. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'll start my day much earlier, and I can be on live with you guys longer. And talk to you guys more about other things. But in any event, I also just put up a new blog post on my music blog. Notes to the angels, notes to you guys, my angels, my fans, my small group of fans that are growing. So that's on the website. The link is in my bio, or you can just pop to the website now. It's www.rbdmusicgroup.com. So once you get past all the label stuff, like the music stuff, actually in the upper right hand corner, you can just click on Notes to the Angels and it takes you straight to the blog. Or you can go on my Facebook or my Instagram or my TikTok and just click on the bio links and it should take you. There's a link tree in Instagram as well. It takes you straight to the blog. So there's a number of ways to get to the blog post, but I talk about some of the recording issues I had in Atlanta and some of the recording successes I had, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the music and see the dancing and everything. Yeah, I'm just excited to share everything with you guys because definitely a lot of hard work being put in with the collaborations, and I think it's stuff that you guys will really love, and it's exciting and just different, a little bit, not too out of the norm, nothing you guys haven't seen before in some way, but just our own spin on it, like that's our whole mantra at the label, Rebel by Design, our whole thing, just across the board, just the stuff that I'm doing with ENG Fashion House as far as like the style collaborations and what I'm doing style-wise on the fashion side, and with RBD with the music and with Casa Films with all the visuals. Nothing you haven't seen in some way before, but it's really just like honoring the old school with our fresh take and giving you guys our version of the new school in our ways. So we're definitely gonna be giving you more of that. So that's what's to come. I'm gonna hop now and be outside right here in the French Quarter, and I will see you guys mañana. Bye, angels.